Day. Today's lesson is on consumers and producer surplus. Learning outcomes. By the end of this learning unit, you should be able to explain the concept of consumers and producer surplus, determine consumer, producer, and total surplus from given demand and supply function. Consumer surplus is the difference between the maximum and the maximum amount consumers are willing and able to pay for a product and the amount they actually pay at the market price. The demand function shows the maximum price consumers are willing to pay for each unit, and then the amount actually spent at equilibrium is P times Q. And then this P, where you see the P0, P0, and Q0 is your equilibrium point. All right. So to get the amount actually spent at equilibrium, you multiply these two, then it's going to give you the amount. And then here they said that the function shows the maximum price consumers are willing to pay for each unit. So you will see that the graph for the demand function is this one in blue. All right. All right. So it shows you the maximum price consumers are willing to pay. There's the maximum price. And then on the graph, consumers surplus is the consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve. So this is your demand curve. So this part, this is what you call the consumer surplus on your function or on your graph. And the market price line from Q0 to Q0, which is equals to Q0. All right, Q0, there's your Q0, where your Q is 0, and then Q0 is this one. All right. So you'll see that from this function, you'll see that this is our, actually they're explaining your consumer surplus area. This is the area. And then this one in orange is your producer surplus area. Okay. And then now we have the formula for consumer surplus. At CS is equals to half times Q0. The Q0, we all know that the Q0, that means the quantity demanded at market price. And then P max is the maximum consumers are willing to pay, which is the demand intercept. All right. So we all know the demand intercept. So if this is my formula, this is an intercept. All right. Demand intercept on the graph, it's this one. It's this part. That's the 100 there. So it means that now your P max is here, and we also set it here. That's the maximum price. We also set it there, bullet number 1. Okay. Sorry. And then P market is our market price. Okay. So you'll see here I said note, market price is given by the price at equilibrium. So it means that this is our P0. This is also our P0. That's our market price. That's what we'll be using here. All right, that's the value. Okay. And then let's look at this example so that we can understand our consumer surplus. They say, suppose the demand and supply functions for products are, so this is our demand and supply functions for 2 products. All right. For our product, no, 1 product, sorry. Yes, our product. So they're saying that find the equilibrium price. So we all know that every time we see the word equilibrium, it means that we are going to equate. So it means we are going to say our PD, demand function, is equals to our supply function. And then now we substitute. All right. So we are going to take this. So this will be 15 minus 0.5 QD is equals to -3 plus 0.5 Q. Or remember I said that there's no need to write the QD and the QS because the D stands for demand and then the S stands for supply. All right. And then now we can, like terms one side, we move numbers. So I'm going to have this negative 0.5. Then I'm going to take the another 0.5 and take it to my left. I said that when a number jumps and equals sign, it changes a sign. So this will be a minus 0.5q. And then equals to. This side, I have a negative 3. Then I take the 15 to the other side. It changes a sign. It becomes a minus 15. And then now we use our calculator. Minus 0.5 is going to give you a negative 1. So this will be negative 1q. Then this is equals to a negative 18. Then now I need to remove this negative 1. Then I divide both sides by negative 1. Divide by negative 1. And then now my q is going to be equals to a positive 18. All right, so that's my equilibrium quantity. So now I have to look for my equilibrium price. So remember equilibrium, it's Q0, okay? So then now I'm going to look for my equilibrium price. So remember we said that you have to choose between these two formulas. You can choose any of these two to calculate your P. It doesn't matter, the answer will be the same. So I'm just going to choose the first one. So I'm going to say P is equals to 15 minus 0.5. Then wherever I see Q, I put this 18. And then my answer is going to be 6. So it means that now, therefore, my equilibrium market price. So equilibrium price is 6, which is our market price from the, if you remember. All right, so it means that my P naught is equals to 6. All right, my P naught is equals to 6. And then it means that my equilibrium point, which is Q naught, P naught, and Q naught will be 6 and 18. So that's my equilibrium point. So it means that if I was to draw the graph, that point will be here. Okay, this side will be 18, this side will be 6. I hope that makes sense. Yes, this part, this side will be 18, this one will be 6 if I was to draw the graph. Okay. All right, and then now we move to number B. Number B says calculate the consumer surplus at equilibrium. So we have the formula. My consumer surplus, the formula says my consumer surplus is equals to half times Q naught times my Pmax minus my P market. So we all know that this is our market price. This is actually our market price. Market price. So I am going to have half times our Q naught is 18, if you remember. Q naught is 18, and this is times a bracket of our Pmax. We said that is the intercept. If you remember, Pmax, we said that it's the maximum price consumers are willing to pay, the demand function. And from this is our Pmax. From the given functions, this is always your Pmax. On the demand function, please don't forget, on the demand function. Okay, all right. So it means that I am going to have Pmax, it's 15 minus 6. Then my final answer will be 18. That's my consumer surplus at equilibrium. And then now we move on to, that's under consumer surplus. We move on to producer surplus. Producer surplus is a difference between a revenue product as producers received at the market price and the minimum revenue they would be willing to accept for supplying the product. The supply function shows the minimum, right, acceptable price of each unit, the minimum acceptable price, which is true. If you look at the function here, this is the minimum, this is the maximum price, this is the minimum. So for producer, this is the minimum, right? And then it says here, a revenue received at equilibrium is this. We all know that's what I said. We calculate, that's how you calculate, even for your consumers is the same thing, right? And then on a graph, producer surplus is the area above the curve and below the market price line. So this is our market price line. So this part, this area is our producer surplus. All right. So now let's look at the formula. So the formula, they're almost the same, similar. The only difference is this one is a P market minus P minimum. The other one is maximum minus the market price. Okay. So our Q naught is the equilibrium quantity. And then P minimum is the price consumers are willing to pay, which is the supply intercept. And intercept is where our graph touches the Y line or the P line. Okay. And then the market P is your market price. And then here it says that suppose the demand function functions for producers are. So we have our demand functions. Then the first question says find the equilibrium price and quantity. We all know by now that we equate. Equilibrium goes with equate. And then now we're going to equate. So we're going to have 30 minus 2p is equals to 6 plus 2p. And then now we solve. So I'm going to have this negative 2p. Then I take this 2p to the side, it changes the sign. Remember this 2p was already negative, right? So this is the 1. So if I take this one to the left, it's going to change from positive to a negative. So I'm going to have a minus 2p and then equals to, it's a 6. And then 30, when you move it to the right-hand side, becomes a negative 30. So this is a negative 30, right? Minus 2 with the calculator, you're going to get a minus 4. Sorry. Going to get a minus 4p. Then it's equals to 6 minus 30. It's a negative 24. And then now we need to solve for p. Again, we divide both sides by a negative 4. So that the negative 4 can cancel the negative 4. Oh, I haven't been doing that. These two, they cancel, by the way. So our P will be equals to a negative 4 divided by a negative 24 divides a negative 4. Our answer is going to be 6. So it goes 6 times. And then now I'm looking for my, what is it, equilibrium quantity. So this will be equals to, you choose anyone. Remember I said that you choose anyone between these two formulas. Okay, let me choose the one of 6 then, so that you can see you can use anyone. So this will be plus 2. Wherever I see P, I am going to put 6. And then my answer is going to be 18. And then now, therefore, it means that now my equilibrium point, which is P naught and Q naught, is going to be, my P naught is 6, then Q naught is 18. All right. And then now we move on to B. So B says calculate the producer surplus at equilibrium. Okay. So the formula for producer surplus is PS is equals to half times Q naught times market price minus the minimum price. And then now this will be half our Q naught. We calculated it. It's 18. So this is times 18, then times. Our market price is 6. And then our minimum price is also 6. So remember the minimum, it's this. It's on your supply function. So this is the intercept. This is the intercept of a supply function. So it means that we are going to have, sorry. then the answer is going to be 0. All right, so the producer surplus at equilibrium is 0. Okay, now let's go to total surplus. Total surplus is the combined benefit received by consumers and producers when the market operates at equilibrium. Okay, so when we calculate the total surplus, it's going to be the consumer plus the producer surplus. So they're saying graphically, total surplus is the full area between demand curve and supply curve from Q naught until, so from Q is equals to 0 until Q is equals to Q naught. Q is equals to 0 until Q is equals to Q naught. This is what we're talking about. Q is equals to 0 until Q naught, which is this. So this whole part is the area for total surplus. All right. And then now we have an example. So here I had to find an example that we can relate to. All right, with the calculations. I hope everything will make sense. So here it says that a community bakery sells trays of muffins at a weekend market at a higher prices. Consumers buy fewer trays while bakers are willing to supply more trays. And then the price P is, which makes sense. I mean, higher prices, it's fewer trays. Okay. I mean, the customers will buy, we all understand that. Okay. And then the price is measured in rands per tray. And Q is the number of trays sold per day. I mean, P, we know it's a price. Q is your quantity. So it's the number of trays sold per day. Okay. So here they're saying that at the market, sorry, the market is represented by the following functions. So we have these two functions. All right. So P is equals to, and then P is equals to, okay. So they give us our formulas in terms of P. Okay. Where P is dependent and Q is independent. You can see that, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. So, okay. All right. The first question says, determine the equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price. But now you know that equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price, we equate. So we are going to equate. So this will be PD is equals to PS. And then we substitute. So this will be 80 minus 0, 0.5. I'm sorry. This sticking together. Okay. So this will be minus 0.5 Q, which is equals to 20 plus 0.25 Q. All right. Then like terms one side by now you know. So this is negative 0.5. Then I'm moving this 0.25 to the left. So it's going to change the sign. It becomes a negative 0.25 Q. And then equals to, I already had a 20. I move the 80 to my left. The 80 will be a negative 80. And then now 0.5 minus negative 0.5 minus this is a negative 0.75 Q, which is equals to negative 60. Then now we need to solve for Q. So we divide both sides by 0.75. Negative, sorry, 0.75. Negative 0.75. Oh, sorry, 75. And then now your Q is going to be equals to 80, which is our Q naught. This is our Q naught, Q naught, ne? All right, so this will be 80. So therefore, it means that now my P naught, we're doing the same that we've been doing. My P naught is going to be equals to, I said you choose between these two. You choose between these two formulas. So, okay, let me just choose the one on my right-hand side again. So this will be 20 plus 0.25. And then you put this inside the bracket, which is the 80. And then my final answer will be 40. All right. And then now, so therefore it means, okay, let me just confirm my answer. 20 plus 0.25 times 80. Okay, it's a 40, yes. All right. So it means that my equilibrium quantity and price, so this will be, which is P naught and Q naught, will be, I hope I wrote it correctly. Yes, it will be P naught, it's 40 and 80. Okay, so this is my equilibrium point. It's going to be at this point. Okay, and then now we move on to the next question. It says calculate the consumer surplus. So we all know that the consumer surplus is equals to consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is equals to half times the Q naught times then P max minus P market. So this will be equals to, it's a half times our Q naught is 80, then times maximum price is 80. Okay, let's see. Maximum price, remember it's the intercept of a demand function. Okay, all right. Oh, sorry. Okay, and then minus our market price, which is 40. Remember that's your market price. This is your market price. Let me write it. Market price. Market price. And then we are going to have, our final answer will be 1,600. Okay, so that's your consumer surplus. All right. And then now we move on to number 3. It says calculate the producer surplus. Okay, so producer surplus, we are going to have PS is equals to half times Q naught, and then times the market price minus the minimum price. So we are going to have half times Q naught is 80, and then times our market price is 40, then the minimum is 20. So our final answer is going to be 800, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So yeah, that's our producer surplus price. Our producer surplus, sorry. Now we are going to go to number 4. They say calculate the total surplus and the amount consumers actually spent at equilibrium. So let's see. So if you want to calculate the amount, remember it's P naught times Q naught. Okay. All right. Okay. So total surplus, we all know the total surplus. I said total surplus. I'm missing TC. Total surplus is equals to, let me write it here so that we don't make a mistake. Okay. Let me write total surplus so that I don't make mistakes. Total surplus. So it's TS. Gosh, why am I taking the total cost? It's equals to consumer surplus plus producer surplus. Okay, so now we substitute consumer surplus. We got 1,600, then plus 800. So final, we're gonna have 2,400. Okay, now we look at the expenditure consumers actually spent. So the amount actually spent, or we can say expenditure actually spent is equals to P naught times Q naught, if you remember very well from the notes. So this will be P naught is 40, then times 80. So this is our expenditure. So it's 3,200. I hope everything makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, you have tutorials. Okay? Thank you. I think that's it.